Welcome to an introduction to the Australian Guide to Legal Citation. This is presented by the Academic Learning Centre at Central Queensland University. The Australian Guide to the Legal Citation is the third edition that we're using. It's a footnoting system. It was developed by the Melbourne University Law Review Association and the Melbourne Journal of International Law, and it's the national standard for legal referencing in Australia, used by most universities and generally all law firms. It's got strengths and weaknesses, like everything. Its strengths are that it's very comprehensive. It's very consistent and systematic, and of course it's nationally accepted. Some of the weaknesses are that it's not really designed for beginners and it can be difficult to navigate. So some similarities and differences. The same general principles apply in AGLC as other author date systems of referencing. So generally in the text, whenever we paraphrase, summarize or quote, we show where we're referring to the work of others in the text. We give full bibliographic details in footnotes, and although the bibliography is optional, most lecturers will require that all entries are given in a full bibliography at the end. We give the full names of the author exactly as they appear in the source. So generally first name first and surname last or next, which is a difference from most other author date systems where you would give the surname first. Some other similarities and differences are basically we use the same bibliographical elements as other referencing systems. So the title of the document, of course the author, the year, the publisher, and any pinpoints or page numbers as they're called. It uses maximal capitalization and uses minimal punctuation. It tends to use spaces instead of commas and full stops, although you do need to take care to put full stops and commas in the right place when they're needed. So all sources must be referenced in the body of the assignment. The references are gathered together at the end in a bibliography. Footnotes may also be used to acknowledge a source that is relevant to an argument or provide other information that is not appropriate to include in the text. An example of this would be if we go up to, say, this idea here, footnoted number 4. That's footnoted as number 4. Down here it says, see the example discussion by Wernreb in above N1. We'll talk about above N shortly. Also in Brewer and Posner, how judges think above N1. So this example shows that the discussion by Wernreb agrees with that, as does Brewer and Posner. In terms of providing other information that is not appropriate to include in the text, we can have a look at the example of number 6. Here, Hunter argues that analogical reasoning is fact-based and does not involve the second step. That is, it does not require the generalization of the rule. Footnote number 6. If we go down and look at footnote number 6, here it is, Hunter, above N1, page 1208, 1251 to 52. The writer continues to say, however, while he says no generalization is required for fact-based analogy, at 1221, so page 1221, he uses such classes as hotels and ferries to illustrate his proposed model of analogy. So there the writer is really saying, hey, this isn't that important that I'm going to put it in the text because they don't want to take the reader's mind away from the actual point. But if you are interested or want to give extra information, you can use a footnote to do that. So generally footnotes contain the author's name, first name first, last name last, the title of the work and the publication details. References of the same work in later footnotes use an abbreviated form of the reference. So here we're talking about above N or IBID. Many legal sources use paragraph numbers as well as page numbers, but both are referenced and they are called pinpoint references. When it comes to quotations, short quotes, 3 lines or less, are shown in the text in single quotation marks. Long quotes, more than 3 full lines, are block indented, they're in a smaller font and have no quotation marks. Any extracts from legislation are also set out like long quotes, even if they are short. Okay, here are some examples of short quotes and long quotes. Here's a short quote, in fact it's a very short quote, just one word. Another one is footnote 56. If we go down to 55 and 56, these all come from Hutchinson, above N, 56 is Ibid, so again it's Hutchinson, above end 35, and this one's on page 69. The first quote was on page 121. Now a long quote, which is longer than 3 lines, is given below, as we said, indented in a smaller text, footnoted again, and we can see down here that that is from Thomas and the adaptation, the genre, page 106 and 116. 116 and 106 down here are what's known as pinpoints, same as this one here, 69, page 69, and this one here, page 121. While we're on this page, I'll just again highlight the fact that the writer is using footnotes to give extra information. So here they're talking about the term switching is taken from the author's earlier work, etc., etc. So how do we insert a footnote? Well, in MS Word, you can go to the Reference tab at the top line and click Insert Footnote, or you can use the shortcut, which is Control, Alt, and F. Insert the footnote after a full stop, a comma, a colon, or a semicolon. You can see in this example that the quote's there, full stop, and then it gives you the footnote number. Footnotes run consecutively throughout the paper. So on page 1, if you have a footnote, it'll be 1. If on the second page there's another footnote, it'll be 2. If on the same page, another footnote, 3, and so on, 4, 5, 6. Don't start again on each new page. No full stop is needed after the footnote number, but every footnote should end in a full stop. So what that really means is, as we can see here, after a comma, we have the footnote number. We've got a full stop here, and then the footnote number. Again, full stop, footnote number. Down here, for each of these, the footnote itself ends in a full stop. This is the bibliography. While we're looking at it, please notice that there are no full stops at the end of the entries. Just interesting that in the footnotes, there should be a full stop at the end of each footnote. However, in the bibliography, there are no full stops. Sections of the bibliography are listed as shown here. So we use a letter, and it says the first one is articles, books, or reports. So those would be what you would call secondary references. Then cases, legislation, which is primary, treaties, and then other. If you don't have a source from one of those sections, then leave it out and change the letter. So as you can see here, we've got articles, books, and reports as section A. Then we've got cases, section B. We've got no legislation in the bibliography, so we go straight to other. Other, as we'll see later on, is basically anything, and it's also internet sources that you would use for that. In terms of examples for articles, books, or reports, as you can see at the top there, it says A, articles, books, reports. That's the section A. And you see it says Eastwood Christine, Sally Kift, and Rachel Grace, and then all the other information that you require as given to you by the AGLC guide. So there you would have the names, then it's the title of the document that you're looking at. This is a journal, then the year, then the actual journal name, and then a pinpoint reference. You don't actually have to have a pinpoint reference, so 81 is not actually essential to include, but it can be included if you want. There again as well, you will see the example of the surname being switched. So Eastwood Christine is actually the lady who would be called Christine Eastwood, that's her full name, and in the in-text reference you would actually have Christine Eastwood. However, in the bibliography you switch the surname and put the surname first, and then list all of them alphabetically by surname. In the footnote you would have it Christine Eastwood. For a book example, we've got Croc Mary and Ben Sol. So again, switching the example here shows the example in the bibliography with the surname switched, and in the footnote with the name exactly as it appears in the source. More examples here, examples of cases. In the bibliography, we'd have B, cases, as the section, and cases appear exactly as they would appear in the footnotes or in text references, so there's no difference there. You don't switch anything around, it's exactly as it appears in a normal entry in your assignment. We've also got here an example of legislation. Legislation is very similar to cases, there's no difference. The only point to note there is in the bibliography there is no section number given, so below the bibliography you'll see the footnote, and there section 31 is mentioned in the footnote, but again not in the bibliography.